The Nuggets signed Russell Westbrook, or they're expected to sign him. A 2-team trade was done between the Clippers and the Jazz. Clippers received Chris Dunn. The Jazz received Westbrook in the second-round pick swap, and then they bought him out.
For the second time
that Russell Westbrook has been bought out by the Jazz.
Utah Jazz.
I don't know about you guys, but I actually really like this move.
No.
I like this move.
Okay. The only thing that it does for them is add defense. Other than that, they're already in above or average to maybe slightly above average 3-point shooting team, and you just added arguably the worst floor spacer in basketball on your squad. How is this going to be beneficial? You add another ball handler to the squad. Is that really what we're going to say we improved on? Because, again, when it comes to offense, he needs the ball in his hands to really be successful. And even then, you really don't love that because you have Jokic, you have Jamal Murray. And as a spacer, his minutes down the stretch of a game, they're going to be non-existent. A lot of his impact is going to be made in the early stages of the game. So you really can't close with Russell Westbrook. To me, the Nuggets this offseason have failed tremendously. And more importantly, they failed Nikola Jokic. I don't really give a flying hell that this is the move that Nikola Jokic wanted. He allegedly went to the front office and said, get me Russell Westbrook. You needed more spacing. You lost KCP, who was literally the perfect role player for the Denver Nuggets, and you replace him with a guy who can play good defense, no doubt about it, but gives you almost nothing when it comes to scoring on a consistent basis.
You know, I think that at first I thought KCP was a bigger loss, but now that I'm thinking about it, when I look at Orlando and what they gained in KCP, I actually think they overpaid a little bit, but he had a great market, so it's reasonable.
Was he paid 22?
20 million a year.
That's fine.
KCP is a perfect role player, but he doesn't move the needle for the Magic to where now they're a serious threat in the East, in my opinion at least.
I agree.
With the Nuggets, I think it was just a dent in their armor, but Christian Brown last season played really well, shot 38% from the three in the playoffs. Right? Yeah, almost it was like 2 attempts.
Okay.
Yeah, KCP shot twice as more as Christian Brown. He's shot
a better defender.
Yeah, 41% on 4.1 attempts. Brown was 38% on 2 attempts. Christian Brown had the third highest plus minus in the playoffs of any Denver Nugget. In the playoffs, in that series against Minnesota, Christian Brown shot really well from 3. I think he shot 40-something% from 3 in that series, or it might have just been the playoffs as a whole. I'm forgetting which one it was specifically. Christian Brown, whenever he is in the game for Denver, good things happen. I think an unsung hero of their championship run was a lot of the moments where Brown was inserted into the game and a spark was created. I think he can be a high-level starting shooting guard, especially in this Nuggets system. He's an inch taller than KCP. He weighs 14 pounds more, so he can guard bigger players. And if you look at the Nuggets playoffs matchups versus the Timberwolves,
pounds. Okay.
It matters because KCP, I think he couldn't guard Anthony Edwards because not only he wasn't fast enough, but he wasn't strong enough either. Edwards overpowered him. When you look at what Ant had against KCP, he went 23 for 46 and he had 60 points and 39 matchup minutes. He completely dominated him. Christian Brown held Anthony Edwards to 4 for 12. He had 14 points and 26 matchup minutes. Christian Brown was playing better defense on Ant than KCP was playing. I think Brown is ready to be a high-level starting 2 guard, and I have a lot of faith in him. The Nuggets brought in Russell Westbrook, who's 11-5-5 in the regular season. They brought in Dario Saric, who's now at size, and he's a good shooter, and he just spaces out the floor for this team. They have added they have added 2 veterans this offseason, veterans they did not have last year, and I thought youth was the biggest deterrent to their bench last season.
Reggie Jackson's a veteran?
He's a veteran. He is a veteran. Of course he's a veteran, but he wasn't good for them last year at all.
And Russ is going to be...
Russell Westbrook is way better than Reggie Jackson.
Agreed,
Dario Saric is better than
Reggie Jackson.
What they had last year, a second veteran option they had on the bench last year.
What was it?
I guess if you want to, if you also want to, or I was going to say like a Zeke Nnaji.
He didn't really play last year.
That's my point.
But Saric, last year he averaged 8 points, 4 rebounds, 37.6% from 3. As just a role player, he's good. So I think their bench, you added 2 veterans, and you have Payne Watson, who I think he could take another step in his game, and he brings some solid
I feel like
minutes as
that
well.
was the hope for last season, and we didn't see it with Payne Watson.
This is his second season, though. In his third season, I feel like he grew from his rookie year to his second year for sure.
Still not a great shooter.
I'm expecting another leap from his second to third year. He'll get a little bit better.
Agreed.
And that's just a good bench player. That's all you need. So I think off the bench, let's say if your first 4 guys are Russ, Saric, Payne Watson, and let's say Zeke Naji, you're adding
more Strother minutes.
I think that can happen. You're adding spacing around Russ. The only person that can't shoot in that lineup
is him.
Is Payne Watson and Russell Westbrook. When Russ has the ball, Saric can shoot, Strother can shoot, and Zeke Naji can shoot. And then when he's playing with Denver's lineup, of course, they can all shoot. I think a lot of the Nuggets' failures in the postseason was made out about their role players, but in all actuality, their best 2 players were terrible from 3. Jamal Murray shot 31% from 3. Yeah. Jokic shot 26%. Last season, that was at 39.6% for Jamal Murray, and Jokic shot 46.1% from 3.
He had his Anthony Davis run.
He did. He had an insane run. Those 2 guys have to be more consistent for them to get over the hump again, because I felt like in the playoffs, we could put the blame on the role players, but they deserve their fair share of criticism. This was the unhealthiest we've seen Jamal Murray. I trust Jokic to hold everything afloat, and you just need Russell Westbrook to give you a boost in minutes where he's off the bench, and I think he can do that. Ultimately, I'm not asking Russ to take the Nuggets home. That's Jokic and Jamal's job.
Of
Russ
course.
just has to make sure the ship doesn't sink.
When's the last time
when
you've seen it?
He's in the game? I feel like all throughout the regular season last year.
I meant the
he did
playoffs
it.
specifically.
Which is what matters.
In the playoffs, I would say last year. Last year he was amazing.
Against Dallas?
Against the Suns.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2 years ago.
But that was because...
But that was last year.
I understand what you're saying.
He was amazing because of what, though? Kawhi ended up going out. PG
ended up being back to being the number 1 option.
He ran the show,
He was forced to.
Off the bench, he's the number 1 guy off their bench that runs the offense.
I think regular season wise, it's fine for us. Regular season, eat up some minutes, be another body, especially if something happens to Jokic or Jamal for some period of time. He could still have a decently floor on offense if like he's the dude. Playoffs come around, that's where I get skeptical if this is really any sort of move, even like on the margins for them in the playoffs, because it does feel like a bit of a weird fit with Jokic there, with Jamal Murray, with Aaron Gordon, if he's actually playing like real playoff minutes with real playoff rotational guys. That's where I question the fit. I think the KCP, Christian Brown, kind of thought you were having Joel is fair, but I think ideally you want to have both of them. Like ideally, Christian Brown doesn't have to take that step this early in his career when you have a team ready to win a championship. If you're able to keep KCP, who we know is a high-level defender, who we know is a great three-point shooter, who we know fits in this offense perfectly, I think it's great to have him, and then Christian Brown can give you those sparks off the bench, and he's not asked to play 30 to 35 minutes. I do think he brings another level of athleticism to this team, though. He's way more athletic than KCP. He has offensively and defensively. He has, just a little bit more bounce in his step. Of course, KCP is a bit older there, so I think that's a big area they can improve on as well, especially on the perimeter. But the Westbrook one doesn't move me a ton. I wouldn't say I love it, but I do think at first when the rumor came out like a month ago, I kind of hated it. I think for regular season, which still, especially in the West, you want to be in one of those top 2 or 3 seeds, get home court advantage, avoid being a 3 seed and a team drops to like 6 and you have a tough matchup when you could be the 1 and face like a playing team, for example. So I think regular season wise, it's cool, but playoffs come around. Don't think this helps you against Minnesota and OKC and all these teams you're going up against.